Katie. So could you tell me what brings you in today?
Wow, so I'm 21 years old and my parents might be getting a divorce and I do not know how to wrap my head around that.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Honestly, really conflicted just because I don't know which side to take. I feel like unintentionally I'm being put in the middle and I just feel really torn about the whole situation.
Have you talked to your parents about them actually considering the divorce and what that would mean for you?
Well, I talk more with my mom because me and her have just always had a closer relationship, and so she kind of just unloads all of this on me. And I feel like I have to listen and be there for her. And with my dad, me and him, not that we've not been close, but we just never really have had like a open flow of communication. I don't know if that makes sense. So kind of surface level conversation, and so I don't even know how to like tap into that with him, you know. It just doesn't feel comfortable. So it's kind of one-sided, and I feel like kind of biased because I don't know both sides, but it's just really just confusing.
Yeah. And so, again, it seems like you're closer to your mom and feel more free to talk to her about the situation. Have you considered asking her what that would look like for if they do consider divorce? Because it sounds like you don't know if they're going to get a divorce or not. What makes you think they are?
So basically we've just had my half sister. She's just caused a lot of turmoil between my parents, just a lot of family drama there. And so basically my dad took her side on some issues, and my mom just feels very underappreciated and very just neglected, and I can definitely see her point. And she's kind of just fed up, you know, through the years. My dad's not the best, but he, when it comes to financial burden, like my mom's always like had to take that on. He's always worked, but just kind of never felt that like responsibility over the household. And then he's always had some like bad habits, you know, smoking, like regular drinking, things like that. So my mom's tolerated all that, you know, for many, many years. But now with this whole thing with my stepsister, my half-sister, him taking her side on some conflict that happened, my mom's just really getting to a point where she's expressed to me that she is sort of, you know, fed up, like she can't take it anymore and she deserves better. And she has given my dad a couple ultimatums, but the same way that me and my dad don't really have a lot of emotional like communication, he's not very open with my mom either. So they just can never seem to get to the root of the issue. So yeah, I just feel like I'm afraid that she's gonna get to that point and then just finally break.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that there were some conflicts that have led to this discussion. What are the conflicts, if you don't mind telling me?
Yeah, so basically, this is gonna sound like a soap opera, but my stepsister, half-sister, I don't know why I keep calling her stepsister, my half-sister came in and basically broke up a marriage between one of my mom's colleagues and the husband. This is a couple that we've had at, you know, family holidays, like for many, many years. They've just been a very integral part of our family. And when my sister moved into town a few years ago, it sort of started the whole like, you know, flirting thing and this and that, and we kind of didn't pay much attention to it. And then finally this past Christmas, the story broke, and they moved in together, and he left his wife, and it was just like a really big mess. This woman was heartbroken, and my dad basically didn't see anything wrong with it. My sister didn't see anything wrong with it. They basically rationalized the whole story, and that was kind of like the cherry on top of the cake for my mom. Like it just really really tore her that my father like would take her side and completely disregard my mom's feelings.
And how does it make handle the situation that your sister, your half sister, kind of put your mom in? It sounds like.
I was very angry for many months. We're in September, October now. This occurred back in December, January, and I didn't speak to my sister for probably like a good 6 months. Just trying to wrap my head around it. I was very angry at her for putting us in this situation. She had already been doing small things like habilitating or enabling my father's like smoking and all that was already causing a little bit of conflict, but it was sort of something you could let slip by. But this blew up in our faces and really just tore the family. So now I'm sort of just struggling with the fact like, okay, she's my sister and I would like to restore that relationship, but I feel like my mom would never, not forgive me, but just never understand that need for me to have a relationship with her after everything she did. So I don't know, I just wouldn't want to hurt my mom after everything she went through.
And what would it look like for you to restore that relationship with your sister?
I think ideally we just at least talk again. She is actually expecting a baby. So I would want to be part of my niece's life, and I feel like that's what started this whole feeling in me of wanting to restore that, because I don't want to be a stranger to that little girl's life, and they are my family, but I just don't even know where I would begin to tap into that, dealing with all of my parents' drama.
Now you mentioned that you don't know how it would look like to restore the relationship with your sister because of how your mom might feel.
Yeah.
Have you talked to your mom about how she feels about the whole situation?
So I've kind of like tiptoed around the fact of like possibly giving her, either the benefit of the doubt or, sort of like we're Christians, or the idea of like forgiveness and all that. And my mom sort of like has this approach of like forgive, but like from a distance. Like I can forgive her and it won't affect my life. Like I'll let it go, but I don't want anything to do with her, sort of thing, which I don't think is the right idea, but I didn't want to blatantly come out and say like, hey mom, like that's not what forgiveness really looks like. And so I've kind of just sort of seen like, okay, how's she gonna react if I seem interested in sort of, speaking to my sister or rebuilding that, and it just hasn't gone very well. She doesn't see like a need for me to feel not guilty, but for me to feel just torn and like I need to be, part of her life after everything she did.
It must be hard, huh?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. I'm already torn between my parents, but now I'm torn between my sister, so I just feel like I'm being pulled in all these different directions, and I just don't know where to begin.
Yeah. So if I'm getting, this whole situation correctly, you're kind of torn between what it would look like for your parents to get divorced and kind of the sides. You kind of feel like you're taking sides in a way, and then you're torn by your relationship with your sister and wanting to restore that, but how that would affect your mom, and maybe potentially or your relationship with your mom.
Yeah, that's exactly the gist of it. I mean, and then even with my dad, I know it affects him, the fact that my sister and I aren't speaking, and it's hard on him, but we can't talk about it, because the one time we had a discussion about it, my sister, it wasn't this particular situation. I think we just kind of pretend that it's not happening. But we did speak to her like smoking around him and like all this stuff and like enabling like his addiction and his bad habits, and he just is really overprotective of her because her mom passed away at a young age. So he just feels like she needs to be like protected, and because she's not my mom's daughter, he feels like maybe like we gang up on her and things like that. So that conversation did not go well, and if it was any indication of what it's like to discuss things about my sister, I'm afraid to even bring it up again.
Okay. Now you said that talking to your dad you know the situation would happen, but have you talked to him about the divorce, and have you talked to him about how this situation with your sister really affects what you think you consider to be part of the reason for the divorce?
No, I haven't. I mean, I guess I probably should take into account, you know, what he feels and what he thinks, but I just know that from what my mom has told me, he is completely like on her side and sees nothing wrong with what happened, and we don't feel that way. I mean, there's obviously something wrong with you coming in and breaking up a marriage, like, and lying about the whole relationship and all that. So I think I don't know, I just wish they would recognize that, you know, they did something. I mean, it's not to scold them for it, but recognize that there was something there. Like, you caused all of this mess, you know what I mean? Me and him have never had a conversation that deep, so I don't know how that would even go.
Do you think it would be beneficial to have that conversation?
I think perhaps it'll help him not feel so isolated, and like me and my mom are again ganging up on them if I listen to his perspective, maybe. But again, I just don't feel like he's super approachable when it comes to these things. Ideally, I would have a better relationship with him where we could open up about the issues that are going on. So I guess in that aspect, it would be beneficial.
Tell me more about your relationship with your dad.
Well, my dad's always, you know, been there for me. He's not very expressive or emotional, but his love language, I guess, if you could say, is just sort of making sure my needs are met. So when I was younger, it was driving me places, make sure I was fed, you know, that I needed this, build that, pick up this. So it's very service oriented, not so much emotion oriented. So me and him are kind of like, it's that kind of relationship. Like, what do you need? Like, but it's not really how do you feel or how did this affect you? That's sort of been my mom's realm. And so growing up, I mean, he had cancer my senior year of high school, and it was after many years of smoking, and it literally was really frustrating for me that he, even after the cancer, didn't quit smoking. And so I would say, too cowardly to ever, you know, express those feelings to him, because I just felt like it was so hopeless, you know. He never quit before, why would he now?
Yeah, it sounds frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, I just feel like you are trying to love on someone and care about them and do everything you can to keep them alive and healthy, and they just have no regard for their life.
Well, maybe thank you so much for sharing. I know we don't have much time left, but I would want to know what you would want to come out of our session, you know, and what you think you should consider going forward. Talking with your parents about the whole divorce, and you mentioned considering building that relationship with your sister.
Yeah. I think I'm looking for a little bit of clarity, I think, just to organize my thoughts and my feelings to see just how to move forward. I just feel stuck in being just pulled in all these directions and not really knowing, you know, what the best course of action is to get to restoration with my sister, or get to dealing with my potential, you know, parents' separation. So
it's interesting you use the word restoration. I think that's a really good way to look at it, and definitely want to help you. We work together to see how you can restore that relationship with your sister and how you can deal with this situation with your